kind of tempting to get an alloy version and build it up extra burly, like a down country bike.
Almost like a trail bike.
Almost.
That'd be ridiculous.
That'd be silly.
Hello, my name is Henry and welcome to the Downcountry Field Test. Behind me we have the brand new Rocky Mountain Element. The bike uses 29-inch wheels and 120mm of rear travel to deliver attributes borrowed from not only cross-country and trail, but dare I say it, even enduro. But how does it stack up? And does it deliver a bike that is as versatile as its spec and geometry sheet could well suggest? Now, many of you will know the Element as the World Cup XC racing bike, but this new version is a departure from that and aims to be far more aggressive and well-rounded. The front triangle has all the cables housed internally. However, it lets you run them in any orientation that you wish. This is particularly useful for us left-hand rear brakers out there. The bike also features a SRAM universal derailleur hanger. At 65 degrees, the Rocky is by far the slackest bike on test. That is coupled to a seat tube angle of 76 degrees in its most slack position. The bike's kinematics have also gone under revision to slightly increase the value of anti-squat, which should mean there's more of a platform when the rider accelerates. Interestingly enough, the kinematics on this bike are designed to be used with not only less damping, but also a lower spring rate to hopefully help calm down the ride. The bike uses a Fox 34 with a Fit 4 damper. It delivers 130mm of travel, and that's paired to a Fox DPS with a 45mm stroke. The bike also uses size-specific shock tunes. Now what that means is, as the rider weight goes up, which it probably will do as the frame sizes go up, the bike has different and varying degrees of damping to suit that rider weight. So hopefully it should mean that irrespective of rider size, they're getting a bike that is tuned to their needs. Now, Mike Levy commented something rather interesting actually, saying how it's kind of odd to see such an aggressive bike without the Grip 2 damper. And I'm presuming the reason is weight, and there are lots of things like this across the bike. I'd also say something like the 2-piston brakes are a nod to this direction. So we've come up to Pemberton from Squamish to ride these bikes, and me and Levy hit every single Tim Hortons on the way to total a drive time of over 6 hours, but it was worth it. My blood sugar is through the roof. We've got loads of bikes, we've got loads of great trails, but how did they stack up?
Those are all the details on the Rocky. Now let's talk about how this bike actually rides out in the real world. Levy, what do you think about how this bike climbs?
Well, surprisingly well, actually. We're going to talk about descending in a minute, but basically I would sum it up by saying it descends so well that I didn't expect it to climb very good at all, but that's definitely not the case, is it, Henry? Henry, tell me about the efficiency test results.
Okay, so this on the efficiency test was just 1 second slower than the Trek to be the second fastest overall, and it was the fastest tech climber.
It does not feel like that when you're riding the bike, I'll be honest.
So it feels slow, but it's more efficient.
Yeah, and I think it's the position maybe that you're in on the bike. It doesn't, I don't feel like I want to pedal fast when I'm on it. I feel like I want to just pedal, get to the downhill and shred.
It's an amazingly confident spine bike. What I quite liked about it was compared to the Trek, which I think is its main kind of rival, it does feel like you're in less of sort of an XC inspired position. And that means that on the climbs, it doesn't, it is slightly shorter than the Trek in terms of reach, and it feels slightly more manageable just because the handlebars are higher. They're into like your range of movement a bit more. I think still, like the Trek, these numbers, they are getting almost too long in terms of the effective top tube. Yeah. Almost. But I think the Rocky probably gets away with it a little bit more.
So it's good that you said that, Henry, because there were times on the Rocky where I wasn't dabbing in the slow tech stuff, but I found myself like thinking about balance and staying upright more when things got slow.
When you're trying to get your weight of the front, you can do it. But when you're trying to get your weight of the front up something steep and turn, it feels like there's a lot going on in terms of the length of between the contact points.
She's not a short bike, is she?
It's not. I mean, it's 475 reach in the lower setting,
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's these enduro numbers. And we're going to come on to descending and why they're so great.
Yeah.
But give with the one hand, take away with the other.
Right.
Let's move on to descending then and talk about how these kind of enduro numbers shake out on trail. Because yeah, like you said, this bike's head angle, I think it's the same as some of these aggressive trail bikes that we have here for testing. So this bike though is 10 pounds lighter than some of them. How much does this weigh?
This is about around 25 pounds.
Yeah, it's about 10 pounds lighter than the Ghost we have. So
I believe it's the second lightest on test. It's only like 2 pounds heavier than the Santa Cruz.
Right.
And if you look at it compared to something like the Poor Old Canyon, which I've kind of talked about in its own review, it's lighter, it's a better climber, and it's a far, far better descender.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this thing is so confidence inspiring, and it's the position it puts you in. You know, you're encouraged to hit things harder, you're encouraged to hit things faster.
Yeah.
And it's a fantastically good descending bike.
Yeah. So what I think that comes down to, obviously, it's not like I'm telling everybody a secret here, is the bike's geometry. But the thing is, when you have less travel, I think that length adds so much capability to the bike. And in those tech climbs, I didn't feel quite as confident because the bike was longer and felt a little more wishy-washy maybe. But the flip side is, you want to rail a short travel bike on some rowdy, rocky terrain, it has to be longer. And Rocky has done that. It's longer, it's slacker. Kaz, I've had multiple previous elements, and they were nothing like this.
that's good. I think I've seen you walk down some fairly technical trails on previous elements. So I feel
It was Gargamel, Casimir.
Yeah.
This element is 4 degrees slacker in the head tube. I think compared to the Trek is a really, really good bike, but it is, for me, the damping level is perfect. I think for some people it might be a little bit uncomfortable. The Rocky is comfortable, I think, for a wider range of riders.
Yeah.
What about bigger hits? You know, you're talking about this bike has some geometry that probably encourages you to push it a little more than you typically would with a bike with this little travel. So does it handle the bigger hits well, or are you blowing through the travel?
Yeah, I didn't have any issues out there. We didn't ride anything that was out of this bike's ability. So I should say that we rode things that you would ride downcountry bikes on, but that did include some good sized drops and hard hits. I never felt a hard bottom.
All right, so we already mentioned this is the slackest bike in this category. Does that translate to good times on the descents?
It does, yeah. I mean, not only was it fastest, but it was also the most comfortable, even at the higher speed. There are a couple of high-low turns you're coming in where some bikes, you felt like you almost being sprung from one to the other. The Rocky just took it all, and it was a very, very confidence-inspiring bike to ride.
Yeah, how many 120mm bikes can you say that about, Henry?
Not many.
Right?
I think, I really think both Trek and Rocky have done something really special with both of their bikes.
I would take this bike down some horrendous trails given the opportunity, and I'm pretty sure it would be fine. And I'm also pretty sure that it's not made for that. But if you look at the geometry and stuff, it's got the Ride 4, thank God. It's not Ride 9, but you can make this thing slack as hell, ready for anything.
We've been talking a lot about how this bike rides. Now let's dig into some of those component details, some highs and some lows. What's standing out as good stuff about this bike?
I mean, it's got a really nice long drop seat post, which other brands are doing, but also Rocky are doing it really, really well.
But it's not so good about this bike.
So there are two things, but it's partly because Rocky has made this damn thing so capable that it underlines these two shortcomings. The first one, it has 2-piston brakes on it. The bike is more capable than these brakes have stopping power, to be honest. And there's no BC edition. So Rocky in previous years has done a XC-focused version of the bike that would have 2-piston brakes, and then a BC edition that would have 4-piston, more powerful brakes. This time around, there's only one version. It has 2-piston brakes, so there you go. The other thing, 26mm wide carbon house brand rims. There's nothing wrong with them. They certainly must help with the weight of the bike, Henry.
Well, this is it. If we talk about some bikes, they go for the suggestion we're saying, and then the weight adds up.
Yeah.
I think this bike has been on a really strict regime of gram hunting. One thing I did like actually is it lets me have my rear brakes any which way I like.
Yeah.
And that's a nice touch as well.
Yeah.
Now it's time to dig into some pricing and some builds. This bike that you guys have been riding is not very inexpensive.
Not very inexpensive.
$9,589 US dollars.
Some might call that expensive.
I think that is fair to call
That's
that.
a lot of money.
Yeah. So is there anything that poses a better value in their lineup?
There's the Element 50, which has the XT drivetrain and SLX brakes and suspension from Fox. Now that comes in at just under $5 US, carbon frame, but a lot of the same kind of features. You'll be able to do pretty much everything the same on it, and it's near enough half the price.
Mm-hmm. And then they do make alloy versions too, right? So
Yeah, they do, from 2,600 US all the way to around 4K. So there's those options as well. I mean, this is a great bike, but yeah, it's not inexpensive.
Yeah. Let's take a step back and look at the overall big picture, pros and cons. Levy, what's good about this bike?
I mean, the big thing for me is the versatility. It's obviously efficient. It did well in the efficiency test. You can pedal the thing all day. And then when you get to something gnarly that maybe you shouldn't be riding an Element down, you can still ride your Element down it. And I think that's pretty cool.
How about some cons?
I think that the capabilities of the bike could potentially start making checks that the rest of the spec doesn't want to cash.
Yeah.
So just things like the narrower rims, the smaller brakes. It's a really unfair thing because we're saying you've done it so well that actually it's starting to, so it's a very subjective one, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the new Rocky Element is probably best suited to a non-traditional cross-country rider. If you're somebody who's all about the watts, you don't really care what kind of terrain you're riding, you don't care that you cleaned that rock roll or something or did that step down, it's probably not the bike for you. I think the handling would be wasted because it is so damn capable. But if you're that kind of person, let's just say, like, imagine there's somebody out there, Henry, who loves to be fit and strong, but also loves to ride the challenging, steep terrain on short travel bikes. Just, if somebody was like that, this would be the bike for them.
Do you know what this would be an excellent bike for?
What's that?
Things like, if you've ever been to Whistler, things like Lord of the Squirrels.
Yes.
This would be in its element, dare I say. I think the one place it probably doesn't do quite so well, I think if you did want to have an XC race bike, it's not for you, I would say. It's a very comfortable bike. It's a great bike to ride all day, but it doesn't have that snappy feeling on the flatter stuff.
Yeah, the snappy feeling, and then I'm pretty sure that when I'm breathing through my eyeballs and dying, I think that slackish head angle might become more of a handful than it was for us just casually riding. Yeah.
Okay. That all sounds good. I kind of want to take this bike and go for a ride. So let's wrap this up. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming field test content. We've got a bunch more on the way. As always, thanks for watching.